Oh, welcome to another episode of The Growth Compass. Shout out to our sponsor, Senders. We're going to do email deliverability. It's there, just like always, but without them, it would not be possible to interview awesome people doing awesome things like Victor. Welcome.
Thank you, man. Thank you, Blake. Thank you for having me. And shout out to your audience.
That's right. Shout out to the audience one time. Well, shout out to Victor. I'm excited, man. People don't know, not yet, but Victor's been very accommodating to my crazy schedule in the last 2 weeks and has stayed committed to do this episode. And I've been looking forward to it, so I'm glad that because what he's building is very exciting. His story is very exciting, so I'm excited to get into it. So for anyone that doesn't know yet, if you could just give a brief introduction of yourself and what you're building.
Right. Thank you, man. So my name is Victor Nara from Ghana, West Africa. I'm a tech enthusiast and I love building solution product to solve everyday problems in society. So currently I'm building Rivia with my co-founder Isidore, and we're solving the problem of healthcare access. In most part of the continent, especially in Ghana, West Africa, it's really difficult for people to have access to quality healthcare. And even when they do, financing the such healthcare is another headache for them to surmount. And so we're tackling the problem end to end from the in-person experience and then the digital footprint. So we're building tools to connect our own facilities and that of independently run facilities. So that is what we're doing at Rivia. And there are a lot more exciting stuff that we're doing. And I believe we'll get into it as part of the conversation.
So
Yeah.
so how long? So I know LinkedIn says whatever, but how long in your definition, how long would you say you've been building Rivia?
Roughly, we get into 2 years now. December will be about 2 years approximately.
Well,
So
congratulations.
thank you. Thank you.
So before that, so is this your first company?
This is my third company, second startup, my third business.
Okay. So could you talk about what those were before?
So the first business was a school, a vocational training school, and I built it from the ground up to train a couple of students, basically in IT, right? So these were junior high school graduates and then senior high school graduates, and we had to train them to acquire diploma. And so with that diploma, they could get into any workforce that they wanted, and some became self-employed. So that was my first business venture. The second one was a pure startup venture, which was basically building e-commerce platform to enable the mom and pop shops, small, we call them in small and medium scale enterprises in Ghana, but I know it's SMBs back there. So to enable these folks to manage their in-store inventory and also expose this in-store inventory to the online citizens. So that was my first startup, proper startup venture, and I exited that one to join Rivia and then build Rivia with my co-founder and then the team here.
So did you so in those first so before Rivia, in those first two businesses, did you have similar roles or did you have different roles?
First two businesses, I was basically leading the team. First was the proprietor, similar to the same role as a founder. Second was the founder and CEO. But in this one, basically the co-founder and then CTO. So different role.
Okay. So then what how would you like why so I love asking people this question because if you there's entrepreneurship is one of the hardest things that you can do. And a lot of times people go from some type of corporate career for a number of years into entrepreneurship, but it sounds like you've always been doing it. So why, like, what have you, like, when you were a baby, were you like, I want to be an entrepreneur when I'm older, or like, how did you get into building companies?
I think pardon me,
No, you're good, no worries.
I'm not quite sure, but I really think it's part of who I am. So a little backstory here. I think I got introduced to computers way back in 2005, 2005, 2004, and from there I was hooked. You know, to this magical piece of equipment that could do a lot of stuff. And I found myself having to hack my way into the system, make it do whatever I wanted it to do. So growing up, the concept of being able to create stuff the way you want them to be and then bring ideas to life was so fascinating, was something that I was drawn to. And so it really became difficult to see myself doing anything else besides just creating businesses, bringing ideas to life. So I would say there's joy in that because the rush alone keeps you alive. That's for me. If I'm working somewhere that I don't feel that same rush, I'm not solving a lot of problems. I feel like I'm not living my life. So that is the drive, So that's really the drive. I just think it's part of who I am, and maybe probably because I love to solve problems. So that's the first thing, just solving problems.
So you said you've had different roles in the two places that you in the two companies that you started before this one. So what did those two experiences teach you, and how do they impact how you're building Rivia?
Right. The first one, I was very young and very naive to a lot of things with regards to running a business, apparently. So I made a lot of naive mistakes, which are also very good. One of such was trying to overstretch myself, trying to do a lot of different things at the same time just to keep the business afloat. And primarily simply because it wasn't venture backed. It was purely bootstrapped. So there's financial constraint on that side. I I made some of those silly mistakes. Second startup, I was a bit polished and I got exposed to the bigger world, the bigger ecosystem. So things are a little bit different. Now, bringing all those experiences to Rivia, I got to understand that there are different paces in a startup. Sometimes you really need to move very fast. Sometimes you need to hit the brakes and then take a step back.
The thing above your head.
Yeah, speed is of the essence.
Yeah.
Sometimes you really need to take a step back and then smell the roses or even look at what you're building, take yourself out of the picture and then observe whatever you're building, ensure that you are still on the track, right track. The second part is people. You can't really do this all by yourself. So you need to learn how to work with people, lead teams. And, it is always better to have A plus people on your team because without the A plus people, it's really going to be very hard to get to where you want to get to. And so from the first two experiences, what I've learned or what I've carried onto Rivia is that you need to be flexible and adaptable, right? It's never a straight path in startup. There's a lot of nuances that you've got to endure and then adapt to. The second is people and then the culture. You really need a good team to build whatever you're building. Other than that, you can't do it all by yourself. And in that, you also have to realize that in building whatever solutions you're building, you also have to be molding these people to become the next generational leaders to take over after you. So in that essence, it means that you're building people and systems to replace you. At the end of the day, you want a business to be a global business that can run with or without you. And so you always have to put this at the back of your mind. So these two key lessons were really, really fundamental to my role at Ravia. I mean, there are numerous others, but I'll highlight these two as the fundamental key lessons.
And these are really impacting the decisions that you're making with Rivia.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
How so when you started Rivia, you were still working on something else, or you went full time into Rivia?
So when I started Ravia, I said I exited my first startup, proper
Mhm.
startup, and so I started working on Ravia full time, and I left because it was an exit, right? So I left the other startup. So Ravia is a full time thing that I'm doing now, and when we started up to now, so uh, um, it's been a full time position. Yeah.
Gotcha. So the first question I have about Rivia is how different is the product, is the company than when you first started?
I mean, a lot of things have changed. That's a short answer. The long answer is what we assumed when we started is completely different from what we're doing now.
Okay.
You know, we first thought we are gonna build beautiful clinics all around. I mean, we didn't even think of building clinics, to be honest. We thought of just upgrading clinics to meet a certain criteria that we thought clinics should have, so certain standards. And along the line, we decided that, hey, you know what? We should build our own model clinics that will inspire other people to build alongside us. Upon after doing that, there was another realization that hey, we needed a solution that will allow people to access care whenever they wanted care without having to think about their bank account. And so now we're building a product that will give people access to care whenever they want, anytime they want, and wherever. So many people call it the insurance killer. Well, we just built something that people will love. So if it's going to kill an entire industry and it's good for a lot of people, I mean, it's all part of innovation, right? So we started from just, first of all, upgrading clinics. Now we are building a new category of product, an entire category, right? So the beginning, something else. Now we're building something very gigantic than we ever thought we were going to build.
So I see on the website there's a card. So you guys issue somebody a card when they sign up with you, and then they have access to Rivia like official clinics.
Yeah. So that card, we call it the Rivia Access card. So that card is supposed to act like the ATM card by this time around for healthcare. So you have that card, just like your ATM card. You could take your, maybe you got an ATM card from Bank of America, and you can use that ATM card across all other banks in the network, right? And even sometimes outside the country is accepted, and also online. So the idea is that when you have the Rivia card, you could walk into any healthcare facility across the country and access care without restrictions. Now, so there are there are two plans for that. We have the free plan, which just gives you a lot more discount than you probably would have spent out of pocket. We also have the plus plan, which is where you have unrestricted access to care. So you pay a certain amount, and then you have some worth of value of healthcare services that you can redeem whenever you want to. So whenever you subscribe to any of our services, you have that card, and that card becomes your visa to healthcare, right? Your access to healthcare at any particular point in time, either virtually or in person across the country. So far, okay, so let me break it down. I know I mentioned we've got clinics. So far we've got two clinics, and across these two clinics and our operational headquarters, we have about 26 people.
Okay.
26
So
people.
yeah, so I'm curious how have your conversations been with potential customers or clients, or how have people received this idea, and how has it been to deploy this idea?
So to be clear, are you referring to the Rivia access card or the clinics in general?
Well, I mean they're to how I understand it, they're connected. So you guys have like official Rivia uh, qualified clinics, and then you also have the card. But the card can be used at clinics that are not Rivia qualified. Is that true?
That's absolutely right.
Okay, so then let's focus on both. Then let's start with the clinics because it sounded like that's where you guys started, and then let's go to just how people have received and used the product afterwards.
Yeah. So the clinics, it has been quite, I mean, the beginning was quite challenging because the idea of partnering with someone to kind of literally take over your clinic and then upgrade it in a sort of a franchise style was completely new. The franchise model was very prevalent in the food and in the real estate industry in Ghana, so everybody's used to that. But in the healthcare space, it was relatively new. And most of the people running these clinics were traditional business people. They are conservative. And so it was really, really challenging to talk to them about this model and then to let them see the potential in this partnership. So few actually came into the fold, and that small number of people who came into the fold actually sold the bigger vision to the rest of the ecosystem. And so it wasn't really easy, but I'm glad so far now. We've been people applying to join the network, which is a good thing because initially we had to go to them. Now they are coming to us because now they've got the vision, right? So that's that. Now on the flip side, what we're doing now, the review access card, it's the same story. Though people see the need, they see the urgency in what we're selling. That there's that factor of trust. Okay, can these folks deliver what they're promising? They're new to the industry. Why should we trust them? They're bigger players in the industry and they ain't doing this. Why are we doing that? So just like with every new innovation, you only have this small handful of early adopters who will try out your product and see what they're gonna get out of it, and then from there they can maybe upscale their purchase or something like that. So far, we decided to focus on a niche group, which is the startup ecosystem, because startup ecosystem they are more likely to adapt some of this new product because they're looking for it and they are willing to just try stuff. and the response has been very good. It isn't easy, but it is very good than we even expected. We even have folks from government agencies reaching out to us. Hey, Rivia, we want to sign up onto your product. Come talk to us about it. We want to know what you guys are doing. We even have the regulators coming to us. They want to understand what we're doing because they want to regulate us. And for us, these are all positive signals that we're doing something really, really good, and that we're really solving a problem that people love us to solve. You know, so it hasn't been easy, but it's been exciting so far. That would be my response.
So I can you go back to the very first clinics that you got into? How did they go from not being clients to being clients for the first time?
So the story started with my co-founder Isidore. Um, Once upon a time, he had an ear infection, and it was late in the evening, and so he needed
Oh
some
no.
place. you know, he needed a place to relieve of this pain, and he combed around the neighborhood until he saw a clinic. Under normal circumstance, he wouldn't step a foot in that clinic, but he needed care and he was in pain. So he walked into the clinic. The atmosphere wasn't, I mean, the facility wasn't really, really good. The infrastructure wasn't good, but the doctor in question who attended to him was very friendly and he just loved the reception and he loved the interaction with the doctor and he got his healing. So that sparked the question of why should clinics be this way? Why can't we do better in terms of healthcare? You know. And so after talking to a doctor, I realized that the doctor wasn't just a normal doctor. He was someone who also loved technology and has a lot of vision about how to revolutionize the industry using blockchain and stuff like that. And so we started talking to the clinic owner, whom happens to be a woman. And so she too had to do a lot of consultation with other people. Like I said, it was so new to her. She's a traditional business person, and so this kind of partnership and stuff is very new to her. So it took a lot of back and forth, a lot of consultation, a lot of talks, meetings for us to actually pitch what we offering. Even we had to, as part of the go-to-market strategy, we had to offer the software free of charge for them to the hospital management software free of charge. It isn't part of our business model to charge for it because we want these clinics to actually operationalize in a high standard. So it's part of the packages we're giving to them. So we had to come into the picture to upgrade the facility, change the entire outlook, paint it, even retrain the staff members to accord to a certain set of standards, for them some training almost every quarter. So it took a lot of work to actually let them know that we are in for the long haul and we are in for good, and we're really looking forward to having a sustainable partnership. We really had to prove ourselves that we want this to work and we're only going to benefit once they benefited.
Well, that's a great transition because my next question was about as a CTO, from the perspective of the technology, how are you thinking about and how is it like every day when you come in and work and you lead your team and you said you're like push some code today and stuff. Is your like is how is it scaling this product from a technical perspective?
So could you take that again?
Yeah, I'm curious because you guys are growing. You guys are increasing your partnerships. You said it took a lot of building, took a lot of work to get into your first clinic. And as far as the technical side, from a CTO perspective, because from someone that's not technical, you have a card and you have a service that you give to clinics. So it's not clear to me like what the technical aspect is that you're actually building. So how is it for you scaling the product as you guys grow?
The bigger vision for this is to build sort of like it's a global health information exchange, such that regardless of where you are in the world, you can access your medical records and any facility can access your medical record. Now that's a bigger vision. Bringing that down to Rivia, it's been a little bit challenging because it's a new path that we are charting. So you have to build a system for the in-clinic use, for them to use to manage their inventory and stuff like that. So that's meant for them. You also have to build a consumer-facing application for the individuals and companies signing up to use this app to access care whenever they want. So it's been a lot of learnings, and so scaling the product, we have to do it gradually. based on the feedback and lessons that we'll be getting. So within our clinics now, what's happening is when you visit in the clinics within the ecosystem or within the network, your medical records are there with you. You don't have to go about it. So this is something in our part of the world where you walk into a clinic for the first time, you have to tell them all your previous medical history. You have to give them your date of birth, your name, and then every other information that they require. But we're breaking down those barriers. So we're building systems that to interconnect clinic A to clinic B to clinic C. Connect these clinics to the individual members, right? Such that when they need care, they can access the care. So it's been systematic. We have to be systematic in the way we scale the product. We have to scale the product according to the needs of the market and also according to the needs of the business as we grow.
How is it building? So I know at least in the US there's heavy regulation around like healthcare records being in health tech. Like building a product that has anything to do with like medical records and stuff like that's pretty difficult. So what is that experience for you in Ghana? Is there high regulation around dealing with those records? Do you have to have a certain level of security? How is it building in this space?
The regulations in Ghana comparatively are quite relaxed in that sense. But you do have agencies in charge of ensuring that the tools that you build conform to certain standard. So we do have the Ghana Data Protection Commission, which is mandated to ensure that every digital product aligns with some set of acts or policies to ensure that information is protected. It's just like the GDPR, of from the European Union.
Mm-hmm.
We also have the National Health Insurance Authority, which is meant to regulate all products in the space. So it isn't as stringent as other parts of the world. It's relaxed, but there are guardrails to ensure that we build products to save the users right.
Okay. And you're still and like with these types of regulations, is it something that I don't know, makes it more difficult to scale, or you just have to be careful about the way that you uh
Yeah, I think we just have to be very self-aware of the pitfalls and the challenges. Scaling really isn't the problem. It is all about distribution and getting the numbers. Once we get the numbers, we get people signing on board. It's relatively easier to scale from the tech side. Yeah.
Okay, got it. Well, you also just transitioned into my next question. So two of my favorite questions to close with is the first one is from your perspective, what is the biggest hurdle that you are facing building Rivia or personally? And how is it also an opportunity?
Personally, I would say it's the biggest hurdle for me. It's having to unlearn and then relearn every day because I came onto Rivia with a couple of assumptions from my previous startups, and no two startups are the same. So it's personally every day having to unlearn and then relearn as a person, as an individual to keep growing. From the product side, from the side of technology, it's all about data fragmentation. There's so many data vendors, so many vendors of healthcare products across the country, across the continent, and these products don't talk to each other. So my personal ambition and the ambition of the startup of Rivia as an entity is for us to build the healthcare information exchange for Africa. So that means bringing all these different vendors together to build one unified platform or infrastructure that everybody can tap into and contribute to. So that has been my biggest mission so far. And once we can build that, we can scale that to the global platforms. Data fragmentation is a huge challenge that we have to
Hmm.
scale across. Yeah.
Well, at the same time, that sounds hard.
It
That
is.
sounds hard.
It ain't
So
easy, man.
yeah, well, okay. So with all the work that goes into doing something like that, my next question is, what inspires you?
I mean, there's joy in taking the hard problems, solving them, and just looking back at it and being like, man, this is so good. If I always feel like if I don't do it, no one is gonna do it. So I feel like this problem, I've just gotta do it. It's me or it's not gonna be done. So, and there's joy in doing the hard stuff. There's joy in getting to the God mood, like having an idea and bringing it to life and watch it flourish is so rewarding. It's so rewarding.
I love that. Man. Well, if anyone else was inspired to follow along with your journey, what's the best way to do that?
I'm active on LinkedIn, so they could always send me a message on LinkedIn. I'll be sure to respond, or even just email us. They could just send a message to the team, and we'll be so happy to just keep them in the loop of what we're doing, or even follow us on our socials, Rivia Co.
Do it. Do it. Do it. Find them. Awesome. Victor, thank you so much for your time. I'm excited to stay in touch and see where you go.
Thanks, man. Thank you for having me.
Got it.